Welcome, I'm David Wolfe. I'm here in Los Angeles with my dear friend Truth Calkins, certainly one of the world's leading herbalists and health educators. Every generation is supporting Hollywood with a health guru of one form or another, and our current generation is supporting Hollywood with Truth Calkins. He's behind the scenes at the greatest tonic bar, Elixir Bar, in Los Angeles' favorite health food store. He's a literal superhero of health knowledge. He's here to talk to us today about the thyroid. We're going to get neck deep into thyroid education. How you doing, Truth?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Fantastic. It's great to see you. Always a pleasure to learn from you. We are going to discuss today the thyroid, which I know you are one of the leading experts I've ever spoken to about the thyroid. So why don't we start with this? What is the thyroid? Where is it? And what is its role?
The thyroid is the fifth endocrine gland, if you count them in order from the root up. It looks like a butterfly-shaped gland. It's underneath the Adam's apple, but above the collarbone. It's got two flaps either side in the soft tissue of your neck. You can actually massage it like this. It's good for you. The ancient Greeks first named the thyroid Thyros, which means shield. It looks like a shield, ironically, and it actually works like a shield, because the thyroid is responsible for, like a thermostat. It's responsible for metabolism, for generating body heat, for breaking down food molecules and nutrients to turn into energy, and for burning calories even at standstill. It's a sensor. It's finely tuned into regulating all different kinds of functions in the body. It's always striving to seek balance for the system. But when we push ourselves too far and it goes off balance and it can't adapt, it starts to atrophy and fatigue and falter. You know, high blood sugar, low blood sugar, chronic stress, hormone imbalance, cortisol, inflammation, liver toxicity.
What is hypothyroidism?
That's an underactive thyroid. It's not making enough thyroid hormone, so the body's not getting the metabolic drive and energy and ability to adapt and digest and eliminate, and we don't have that well-being that we would get from having normal levels of thyroid hormone in the blood or in the cell.
In medical research and some of the common research that's reached our eyes and ears, we hear about T3 and T4. So is hypothyroidism an underproduction of T3 or T4?
Well, it's an underactive thyroid, so you're probably going to have underactive amounts of both. But it gets a little more intricate, meaning, you know, you could have good T3 and T4, but your thyroid binding globulin is too high and it's holding on to all your thyroid hormone that's in the blood, so it's not getting into the cell, so you don't feel it. So you have these symptoms of hypothyroidism, even though the thyroid is working okay.
T3 and T4 then are hormones, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thyroxine, 3 molecules of iodine or 4 molecules of iodine attached to tyrosine. But that's thyroid hormone, basically. And there's lots of ways to test. There's total T4, there's free T4, free T3, total T3, reverse T3, T3 uptake. The more directions we can see at what's going on in the body, the better we can kind of ascertain what's happening.
What is Hashimoto's disease?
Hashimoto's is probably the most prevalent autoimmune thyroid disorder that accompanies a lot of people that have hypothyroidism. It's an autoimmune disease where the immune system is actually attacking the thyroid, breaking down glands like it's foreign tissue. And this is where we have to go to the root of the immune system, like I do a lot with people on the body ecology diet, dealing with candida and other things, to heal and build really good immunity at the core so that allergies and autoimmune symptoms and all the inflammation from them start going away, and the natural intelligence to the immune system to stay balanced and have good health and know what's good and foreign and what's not is working like it should.
The thyroid gland has been making bigger and bigger headlines in recent years due to an epidemic of hypothyroidism. It's being diagnosed by doctors. There's all kinds of synthetic Synthroid, thyroxine, synthetics being sold to folks that are taking them every day as supplements. There's a huge concern amongst the health community as to what's causing it. Can you give us a little bit of a background as to what's causing this epidemic and what these statistics mean?
Well, it's good that it's getting attention because it is such an important part of our health. People don't realize that how good you feel, being happy, having energy, not gaining weight, sleeping, your immune system, your digestive system, eliminating properly.
So the thyroid's touching all of those things.
Yeah, not being cold. You know, it's a major driving force of your jing and well-being in your life. Major. And if you want to thrive and feel great, you want to have like amazing hormone balance, amazing thyroid health and function, and thyroid hormone. And that's going to be part of the liver and other endocrine glands. And so living in this modern world, there are things that can subject to impairing the thyroid. And when it does, we notice it and we feel it. And some people live with thyroid problems undiagnosed or just not being health conscious enough to understand the importance of it. They live with these problems, having low energy, being cold, can't lose weight no matter how hard they try to exercise. Mild depression comes and goes. They need to stay in bed and sleep longer than most people. They still wake up tired. They can't shake, they get constipated. No matter what they do, they can't correct their constipation. They're living with this stuff and they have no idea of it.
How many Americans, just in America, are suffering from low thyroid, hypothyroidism?
And the statistics are that 27 million have thyroid imbalances of some kind.
That is a shocking number.
Now, the more so maybe like 3/4, let's say, women than men, and a very large proportion of that is hypothyroidism, underactive thyroid, not making enough thyroid hormone. And a large amount of the hypothyroid problems, maybe 50% of that or more, is Hashimoto's. It's just autoimmune. Today you hear about autoimmune disorders like crazy. Our immune systems are really being challenged. They're not balanced and modulated and function properly. Stress, toxins, nutritional deficiencies, overuse of antibiotics and birth control pills, things like this. So, it's really good to learn about this and how it connects to your immune system. And when you understand it properly, and if you do want to get tested to really know where you're at, you want to find a doctor who works with a reputable lab, and you want to test your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, your T4, your T3 uptake, the amount that actually gets into the cell,
okay.
Your reverse T3, the T3 we don't use has to be thrown away, your thyroid binding globulin, the protein that carries thyroid hormone around the body.
Is that a standard test? Is that a standard test?
No, they usually just do TSH. Or sometimes they'll do TSH and T4. And if they see it's high, they'll just say, okay, to make you feel better, I'll put you on thyroid hormone.
Wow.
And they, because they would do that anyhow if you had autoimmune, they don't do an antibody test. And you should really do an antibody test, because if you keep flushing your body with a hormone, you may feel good at first, but after a while, you're going to impair your cell's sensitivity to receptor site docking of that hormone naturally, and all your symptoms are going to return, and you're going to get really frustrated.
Because you're taking the supplement, you're taking the thyroid hormone, but it's not getting better after. Well, it gets better for a while, and then it all comes back.
It might help if I explain how that breakdown of hormone production, just real quickly.
Yep.
Hypothalamus gland, up here in the brain, the regulator of all the endocrine glands, sends a message to the pituitary, TRH, thyroid releasing hormone, to tell the pituitary to make TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. It's the main thing that doctors test for thyroid function. And active, healthy levels of TSH is like 1.5 to 3, or sometimes they'll 1.5 to 4. If you're over that, they consider it hypothyroidism. Some people are up to 8 or 9 or 17 when they're really bad. If it's under it, it's hypothyroidism, meaning you're making so much thyroid hormone that the pituitary doesn't need to send the message.
Okay, so it's hyper if it's low, and if it's too high, then it's hypo.
Yeah.
And most people are too high. They have low production of thyroid hormone,
and
T3.
half the time it's an autoimmune disorder attacking the thyroid that's part of it. And nutritional deficiencies, stress, blood sugar problems, hormone imbalances, liver congestion, cortisol. But basically, hypothalamus makes TRH, pituitary makes TSH, sent to the thyroid. Thyroid then, under the influence of TPO, thyroid peroxidase, an enzyme, it attaches iodine that it gets from the bloodstream from our food and our diet to thyroid globulin, which is 2 tyrosine atoms to a protein, and then it makes thyroid hormone that comes out of the thyroid. 2 forms, T3, T4. Most people have heard of this. Thyroid only makes 7% T3, which is active, anabolic, usable thyroid hormone.
Which is what we want,
that's
right?
good, yeah, that's what we want.
So T4 is kind of a precursor.
T4 is not complete.
Okay.
It's not usable until it becomes finished. So mostly we make T4. We make 93% T4.
Okay.
So we should focus on that T4. How does it get to the maximum level of usable T3? So if we have a really healthy liver, healthy heart, healthy nerve and muscle function, but mostly the liver, 60% of that T4 will be converted to usable T3. And if we have the right levels of thyroid binding globulin, because that's the carrier, that's what shuttles the hormones around to get to the liver to convert and then back to the cell to get in the receptor to go inside the cell and turn on that gene and regulate that function to make us feel great. Then that 60% of T4 will be converted to usable T3 and carried with thyroid binding globulin. Now there's 40% left over. We split that in two. 20% of that goes into thyroid sulfate and thyroid oxalic acid, which is sent to the digestive tract. A lot of people don't have beneficial levels of bacteria, so that part of the thyroid hormone is lost.
Just goes away, not used,
Not usable.
dumped.
Now, if you are really knowledgeable about the power of probiotics and you've practiced colon hygiene,
It's friendly bacteria.
you build up your friendly bacteria with
Okay.
cultured foods and kefir, sauerkraut, and probiotics. Under the influence of healthy beneficial bacteria, that thyroid sulfate and oxalic acid converts back to usable T3. So you can
Okay.
get an 18 to 20% boost in T3 production just from having high levels of probiotics in your gut, which is
Wow.
massive. Now the other 20% is the RT3, the reverse T3, which is not usable by the body.
That's kind of the
No.
wrong spin on it.
That has to be converted.
Okay.
It has to be detoxed out of the liver, so you need good liver function again for that.
Okay, so let's go back to the test. So let's say I'm concerned about my thyroid. I don't know if I have hypothyroidism, but I'm having symptoms. Low energy, I'm always cold, constipation. I go into the doctor, what am I looking for? What do I want? I want TSH, I want
T4.
T4, T3.
Well, two forms of T3. T3 uptake,
Okay.
the amount that is actually getting through the cell receptor turning on genes. That's the most end result anabolic test, telling you what you're getting. And then reverse T3. Because what if reverse T3 is really high? For some reason your body's not eliminating it. It's blocking. And then TBH, thyroid binding globulin levels.
Okay.
Because if that carrier protein is really high, it's holding on to all your active thyroid and it's not getting in the cell. So why is it high? There's usually estrogen's out of whack or testosterone's out of whack in that woman. Maybe she's been doing the pill for too long, or you know what I mean, or oral contraceptives or something that's
So oral
wacky.
contraceptives is another one. If we've had a history of taking oral contraceptives,
Pills, creams, oral contraceptives, yeah.
it's very likely that
throw
our
it off.
thyroid could be out.
Birth control is a biggie.
Yeah. Okay.
So you want to check TSH, T4, reverse T3, T3 uptake, thyroid binding globulin,
Okay.
TBG, and then thyroid antibody, just to rule out any autoimmune disorder.
So if I have a high thyroid antibody, that means Hashimoto's, right?
Well, it's positive or negative.
Okay.
That's what they'll test. And there's
Okay.
different forms of, there's TPO-AB, there's TBG-AB, AB standing for antibody. There's like 3 different forms of antibody tests. Usually doctors just pick one of the most prevalent ones. I'm not sure what that one is off the top of my head, but just tell them you want, a decent antibody test on my thyroid.
Okay.
So just to rule out any autoimmune stuff. Some people have Graves' disease, which is hyper. It manifests itself in hyperthyroidism, overactive, inability to gain weight, nervous all the time, stressed.
Bulging eyes, I know that's
your
a
eyes
symptom.
eventually get
Yep.
bulging and can't sleep enough, and you're irritable, and you eventually burn out the system like this. And that's, again, the result of another autoimmune disorder attacking the thyroid. And if the immune system doesn't get corrected, it's going to keep eating away at your thyroid. And some doctors just remove the thyroid because of that. And this is one of the most important glands for your jing and for your overall health. You shouldn't do that. And some doctors, just to give you the result, might just put you on a thyroid hormone just because they know you'll feel better if you have some active thyroid hormone in your system. But you didn't make that thyroid hormone. And your endocrine system is very complicated and balanced and fine-tuned. It's an amazing organism, the most driving part of your machine in your life and your feelings, and your sex drive, your sense of self, your ambition, your self-esteem, your physical vitality and ability to engage in life. It's really, really important. And when you put unnaturally that hormone in,
Like a Synthroid, for example?
or the new armor, or there's going to be a
There's
side effect
like
over time.
desiccated thyroid, which is called Armor.
The
right?
old one before 2009 worked pretty good for people because it was just desiccated pig thyroid, and it was close to a thyroid glandular. It was pretty natural. It gave them some thyroid hormone that they didn't make, so they felt like all their symptoms were gone, and I've read testimonials of people using that old Armor formula for 30 years and feeling great, never having a problem. And then recently, I guess they've switched the Armor to a more synthetic form, and the old form is not available. And there are a lot of consumers that are unhappy about that if you look on the internet, because they're not getting the same results. And some believe it could be leading to other health problems that we're not aware of.
So
But the cell sensors, you see, they have all these receptor sites to absorb vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And if they get overwhelmed with one hormone, it starts to block another hormone or not leave room for testosterone to like a sex hormone. If sex hormone binding globulin's out of whack, that'll all of a sudden throw out one of the other, like thyroid
So
hormone.
it's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It goes out of crazy.
It's so confusing that you can't test and backtrack this chain reaction and understand all the things. And you're playing you're playing God with an incredible biological organism. You should go back to nature and you should just detox that gland. You should make up for vitamin and mineral deficiencies. You should exercise that gland. You should learn about lifestyle balance and how it affects your hormones. Get your hormones balanced. Learn to rebuild it. If it's really that destroyed from an autoimmune disorder over a long period of time, you can boost your stem cell production, start growing back thyroid cells, and renourish it, and detox the halogens, and avoid the goitrogens, and avoid the nitrates, and avoid the oxalic acid, and avoid stimulants, and white sugar and carbs, and trans fats, bad fats that are really upsetting people's thyroids, and put in the good fats like the coconut oil, and maybe a high-quality, non-molecular distilled wild Alaskan salmon oil, vitamin A, vitamin D, omega-3s, EPA, DHA.
So let's hold that thought for a second, because that's what we're going to do. We are going to, for our viewers, we're going to go through a whole program of detoxing your thyroid, rebuilding it with foods and herbs, vitamins and minerals, exercise, and that's what you're going to guide us through. I do want to mention this too. Another big factor on this whole thyroid that's come up in my research is the thyroid itself is a sac of about 1,000 little pin-sized thyroid glands. And for anybody listening at home, if you still have some of your thyroid, if part of it's been removed, you can still get back to a functional thyroid use. I got interested in studying the thyroid, by the way, truth is, I was, as a kid, interested in radiation and nuclear bombs and all this kind of stuff. And I found out that when they dropped these bombs on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the primary response that was going on in people was thyroid disease. And that led to this whole idea that the thyroid is calling up a huge amount of electricity or negatively charged electrons in order to neutralize the extreme free radical reaction caused by radioactivity like depleted uranium. Since then, and many years later, I got together with Gabriel Cousens and went through his research. My friend Dr. Gabriel Cousens is a really interesting medical doctor, alternative medical doctor, integrative medical doctor. He found out of 60 people he tested, 59 tested positive for depleted uranium, which right there, just that alone can cause thyroid problems, let alone all these other factors that you're bringing in. The halogen problem, the toxicity, the lifestyle issues, the stressors, and then of course we're going to get into, as we develop your program here, Truth, this whole thing of being grounded and making sure we have the Earth's natural electricity coming into our body to nourish our thyroid and build up that reservoir of electricity again. So let's just jump right into it. You have developed an entire program to help people with their thyroid issues, and it starts with detox. As we get into detox, I want you to address two situations. One is if I have thyroid troubles already, but I'm not taking any kind of thyroid, either desiccated or synthroid. And the other situation is if I'm on the borderline of beginning to start to think I need to take something. We want to talk about both situations because a lot of people listening are already on synthroid. They're already on the desiccated. So let's talk about both situations, being on those drugs or off.
Okay. Well, if you've never taken thyroid hormone before, it's even better, I think, because there's less confusing to the system. You can go right into an alternative nutritional program and a detox program to sort of maximize your overall thyroid health and see what your results are. Over time, if you're not successful, you could consider like a grass-fed organic New Zealand thyroid glandular. It's similar to a desiccated animal, but I would not want the gland from an animal that is regular agricultural, industrial farming animal from this country. It's that the glands hold all the toxins that animal's ever absorbed, and you don't really want to put that in your body. So you could try a glandular, but I think most people can get their thyroid going with nutritional stuff on their own, and vitamins and herbs and minerals and exercises, and just by putting their attention there and detoxing and avoiding the things that are bad for the thyroid and boosting their own health and their jing and their stem cell ability to mobilize and produce their own stem cells, if in fact they have had like severe enough damage that the nutrition stuff isn't strong enough.
So if I want to detox, our culture is so toxic, as you know. We're probably the most toxic culture ever, with all the plastics, chemicals, depleted uranium, pesticides, petroleum byproducts.
Yeah.
What do I do? What's the first step?
The iodine, if you take the right form, where it's got a free electron, so it's got a negative charge. It's what they call paramagnetic iodine, like nascent iodine, NASCENT iodine.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking for, nascent iodine.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of iodine products out there that are poor quality.
Okay.
Poor quality. There's quite a few doctors that don't recommend the use of iodine or tyrosine to boost thyroid hormone because it can temporarily flare up the symptoms of an autoimmune thyroid problem, which oftentimes is the case for some people, like Hashimoto's. But if you really know if you're interested in your health long term, you're going to address autoimmune at the same time. If that comes up for you, you probably should be doing that anyway. And then your body starts to correct the immune system from the core. And now you don't have to be afraid of taking something that's actually good for you just because of a symptom flare-up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like your body starts ramping up a reaction, your things start moving, and you can have it's like a detoxification barrier. It's like a hump you have to go over. That's what you're referencing,
and
right?
To me, I've seen it a lot with people with candida that I've worked with. It's a backward approach to avoid something that's good for you because you're getting a flare-up. It may scare you because your lack of understanding of the issue. It's because you feel like you're getting worse when you're taking something that's supposed to make you better. But you have to understand the cleansing and the Herxheimer reaction and the way, this happens a lot with allergies.
So the Herxheimer reaction, let's talk about that. What is the Herxheimer reaction?
It's the die-off effect, meaning when you take something that's actually killing like an infection in the body and the infection's fighting back and you feel you're used to that infection being stable and happy in you, it actually flares up and all the symptoms that it used to give you that were mild before become exaggerated, enhanced. But that's actually good because it's leaving your system. When toxins that were neatly stored in fat cells are now being pulled and dredging your cells and coming out of your body, you actually feel worse temporarily. Sometimes all these toxins are coming out. But if you understand that, and if you're not afraid, and you just drink water and help yourself through the cleansing system, you're going to come out the other end way healthier than you were before, just tiptoeing around all your symptoms, afraid of doing anything because of a lack of understanding of natural health.
Okay, so let's say just on water, because obviously we want to detox using water. Should I drink tap water?
No. Tap water's got one of the leading halogens that contributes to thyroid problems, and that's fluoride.
Okay, so fluoride, toxic to thyroid.
They use bromide now to massage dough and bread making. So all processed bread is high in bromide. And these are halogens. They have a similar chemical structure to iodine. Now, iodine being the fourth most abundant, important mineral for health in the body, being so severely deficient in our country that at the turn of the century, everyone that was pretty much living away from the ocean in the middle of what they call the goiter belt all developed goiters from iodine deficiency. And the government...
Which is like a swelling right here, isn't it? It's a thyroid swelling disease, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
goiter?
An underactive, or yeah. And so, the government did do something about it. They put iodine in salt, and we had iodized salt. The problem is when that salt is left out too long, the iodine evaporates. The iodine is like a vapor.
Okay.
Like high-quality iodines, like nascent iodines, 2% iodine, and it's made chemically in the perfect structure to be usable instantly in the body. But when you squirt that stuff in water, and you have to drink it on an empty stomach away from anything else, if you let it sit there too long, it just evaporates away.
Okay.
Now that iodine is going to kick out the halogens, the fluorides, the bromides. Because we're so iodine deficient, the glands take in that halogen, thinking it's iodine, trying to make it work. Now, we were real deficient 100 years ago in the goiter belt. So that amount of iodized salt that we consumed, the amount that was consumed fresh without evaporating, was enough to reverse goiterism in one generation. But was it enough to maintain optimum health for human beings? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about the other health benefits that iodine can have in other endocrine glands and your overall health. But also when it's free electron iodine, like it's really well made, the ability for it to detox mammary glands in women, to ovaries, to prostate, but especially the thyroid, to detox all those halogens out and then put the good iodine back in its place.
Fantastic. Now let's say I'm taking
that iodine also is what hospitals use as like an antiseptic or an antibiotic.
Niacin iodine.
Keeps everyone getting sick in hospitals. As well as iodine.
Yeah, just like topically and
cheaper
stuff.
forms, iodine,
Yep.
potassium iodine, or whatever. But so iodine works to fight viruses and yeast and fungus and candida. And that iodine, because it's got the free electron, it chelates heavy metals. It detoxes the mercury out. And the mercury is something that candida feeds off of, shielding the cells from the oxidizing of it. We kind of
How much heavy metal contamination can get into our thyroid? Is that a big part of the
lot,
problem?
A lot.
That's another issue.
And iron is another thing that people don't think of. I mean, most good doctors know that, especially for men as they mature, increasing levels of ferritin is not good when the iron gets too high. It's the most aging or damaging free radical of any of the metals in the body as it gets high.
Tell me if this is true. This is what I've heard, that over your lifetime, especially men, the iron gets too high.
Yeah, we get borderline hemochromatosis, and we're breaking down our cells, we're aging, we're possibly even creating an electromagnetic field around the body that attracts solar radiation that's breaking RNA and DNA, and the excess iron tends to build up in the brain, in the thyroid, hands, and the feet.
Okay.
So now you're attracting the more radiation, more EMFs to that part of the body, and this is the throat chakra. This is where we communicate. It's exposed and it's open. I worked in computer base for years as a graphic designer, surrounded with electronic equipment,
everywhere,
with an open thyroid just there, and the iron going up is a guy eating regular food with iron in it, red meat, and blah blah blah.
So the shield effect of the thyroid is really enhanced then by iodine. I mean, that's what you're saying, in niacin iodine. Now, what else? I mean, obviously iodine has all these other factors, and it can also, what you're hinting at is it can get the iron out as well out of our thyroid?
Get the iron out, get the mercury down, fight off candida virus, bacterial infections. We want to avoid goitrogens in mass quantities because they block that iodine attaching to tyrosine and making thyroid hormone. So cabbage and peanuts and soy and excess broccoli, even some in kale and spinach. Oxalic acid has some chelating effect to minerals and some malabsorption problems or blocking of certain minerals. So that doesn't help to do lots of oxalates. And so a lot of people are getting aware of that nowadays.
Okay, so let's now if I have thyroid condition, I'm taking Synthroid, and I'm trying to detox now, I'm getting on the niacin iodine, I'm thinking about, should I eat kale? Is kale really a problem, or is soy worse?
If you're increasing your iodine consumption, you don't have to avoid it entirely.
Okay.
Meaning you're going to you have so much iodine it's going to get in there. So you can have a little bit of those foods, but you don't want to go crazy, like make that your staple food. The soy I think is worse.
Okay.
It's the isoflavones, believe it or not, they're like really problematic.
Okay. Interesting, because we hear all this research about isoflavones, and they're great, protectors against cancer and this kind of a thing. But really, they're thyroid toxic, is what you're saying.
There's some mixed reviews on that. There's some specialists that believe the isoflavones are highly deleterious to the thyroid, and there's some that are saying, no, it's not that bad, it's this. So I don't know if the word's fully out yet. I've been doing research that's showing different things, but
I think if anything's questionable, it's probably good to avoid it.
I know that those foods aren't so good. I don't want blockers to one of the most important glands in my body, per se, in my system too much. But taking that iodine on empty stomach, and therapeutic doses start at about 15 milligrams of iodine a day.
15.
Yeah, which would be a whole dropper full of niacin iodine.
Okay.
In water, totally empty stomach for it to absorb. You can feel the antibiotic, like the cleansing effect, in a way, from it if you take it right away before it evaporates. Now, higher therapeutic doses go up to 50 milligrams a day, like 3 droppers. And max therapeutic doses go up to 100 milligrams, which would be 6 droppers a day.
Wow.
And I was doing 1 dropper a day for the last 6 months, and thinking that that's pretty good. And I also think another important mineral is indium, if it's usable by the body, like indium sulfate.
Okay.
Just a couple of drops.
For the thyroid?
For all the endocrine glands.
Okay. All the endocrine glands,
including
the thyroid. Okay.
It's going to improve zinc absorption, and zinc is really important for the thyroid. It's going to improve selenium absorption, which is really important for the thyroid, and trace minerals. And indium sulfate can balance up to 81 hormones, according to the author of the Anti-Aging Manual, because of its endocrine function. So
I did a lot of research on indium in the laboratory, actually, and with a scientist, a really amazing scientist. And one of the things he told me is that indium is an attractor for trace minerals. So it actually liberates them from food and makes them more biologically available for your system.
Yeah, it's a mineral enhancer, big time.
Big time.
Copper goes up 61%, chromium 332%, with just 3 drops of indium for a 150-pound person. Some minerals in the kidneys go up to 600 to 700% absorption.
So far we've got nascent iodine, avoid the goitrogens, which is like everything in the cruciferous vegetable, mustard family pretty much,
Yeah,
and soy.
Peanuts.
And peanuts. Okay, and then we've got this piece
and
on...
Avoid nitrates and avoid excessive oxalic acid.
Okay, so
Oxalates.
excessive oxalic acid, and then nitrates like cooked meat, like nitrosamines, or...
I'm not
meat
sure. I think
preservers?
Yeah, like in preservatives.
Preservatives,
usually.
okay.
Like dried fruit in a regular supermarket. Is
Okay,
high
bad
in nitrate.
news. And then we've got indium sulfate.
And then there's certain key foods you got to know right away that are just not good for your overall health, especially the
Okay.
thyroid.
Okay.
White sugar,
processed
white flour, carbs, refined carbohydrates, bleached, deodorized, refined trans fat oils, canola oil, things like this.
Okay.
They have to be out. Caffeine, these kinds of stimulants, really bad for the thyroid.
Obviously, we want to be drinking a lot of water and good quality water.
Yeah.
What kind of water do you drink? What do you recommend?
I go for max hydration. I'm not into the alkaline waters. I believe they're could be lowering people's hydrochloric acid and impairing their nutrient absorption and
I'm in agreement with you on
building
that.
of blood and their ability to eliminate stools, which is a big part of your health, your
I agree
digestion,
with you
your absorption.
on that.
So my favorite water at the store is called Eon water, capital E-O-N. And
Okay.
I think this has about an 80% osmotic drive. It's only 5 pH, but if you drink this on an empty stomach quickly, the water is incredibly thin and you feel the hydration, you feel it going into your cells really fast. And that carries the nutrients in and gets the toxins out. And I think hydration is so key to health that it's, I've got to make a point of getting enough Eon bottles in the day in between my drinks or food so that I know I'm really staying optimally hydrated. The clear water colonics are also amazing for hydration, going through the other way. But there's other ways to improve
What about for detox?
the hydration.
Colonics.
Colonics are amazing for detoxing the colon, which is, if you're putting good bacteria in your body, if you're going to invest in that, you should do colonics with it because that's really going to improve your gut health, which is going to boost T3 production and your immune system and sort of regulate immune problems. If you cut out the sugar, clean the colon, get the good bacteria back, and take immune modulating herbs like reishi mushroom, stuff like this, holy basil.
Okay.
So rebounding is good for detoxing the whole body and all the cells. And you can actually, if you hold a part of the body and squeeze it while you're bouncing, you're working out that part. Like you could squeeze your biceps as firm as you can and bounce, and you'll feel blood flow pumping to the biceps like you're doing curls, and you'll be pumped up afterwards.
I just remember the last time I saw you, you put together a rebounder in my room, one of my favorite toys, which is a mini trampoline for everybody watching at home. The mini trampoline is probably, I'm sure you agree, one of the greatest discoveries in all of exercise physiology and probably one of the greatest discoveries in health. And so you're saying that you should hold an area, like should I hold my thyroid?
Yeah, that's what I would do. If you're going to increase its ability to detox and you're going to tonify it. And anytime you have a spare moment, you're driving in your car or whatever, I like to massage the thyroid up and down in that soft area of the neck, about 3 different positions.
Okay.
As I learned and read from Stephen Chang's book on Taoist internal exercises, came out in 1986. Very simple exercise that he believes can cure people from any kind of thyroid problem over time without even needing to take iodine or whatever thyroid hormone, just by massaging the thyroid to get it to function, get it tuned up. But I think that's enough for cleansing.
Okay, so that's our detox program, which you covered a lot.
You could do zeolite and fulvic acid for a while, just as a general heavy metal cleanse.
Okay.
You could do some far infrared saunas to help with the heavy metal cleansing.
Let's back up for a second. Zeolite is a compound that comes out of the earth, fulvic acid as well. Do you have any specific recommendations on which zeolite product and which fulvic acid?
I like Morningstar Minerals. They do a whole humic fulvic ore from the ground. This is ancient decayed plant and animal matter from thousands of years ago.
Yep.
Fulvic acid increases mineral uptake, removal, exchange in the cell. So that chelates the metals and the bad minerals, and it allows your good minerals to come in quicker. So Morningstar Minerals makes 2 products. Energy Boost 70, about $20, $25 retail. That's mostly fulvic acid with a trace amount of all kinds of other minerals that are in there. We pour about 4 ounces of that into a glass with a little water. And then the second product is called Vitality Boost HA. It's very dark and it's more humic.
Okay.
And we just put 1 ounce of that. So we got 4-to-1 fulvic to humic in a glass of water. And you could put your iodine right in there, your nascent iodine, to drink it.
So that could be like in the morning.
And then you can add your zeolite right in there.
Okay.
And Omeka Health, or Materia Organic, which I think they changed their name to, they do a very concentrated microlyzed zeolite powder that's in a liquid with a little fulvic acid and trace minerals added.
Okay.
And 1 to 3 squirts, depending on how clean you are, you can put in that drink and do that drink every day. That's a great general heavy metal detox that people feel results from right away.
It's just water and those goodies in there, the zeolites, the fulvic. And by the way, it is fulvic, Fulvic, because a lot of people think folic acid, which is vitamin B9, which is something else entirely.
Yeah.
So we're talking about fulvic
At the bar,
acid.
we've had amazing results with the Morningstar mineral drink that I just mentioned, meaning some people that have come out of the hospital and they're really toxic. And they just came to the bar and they wanted to do a few health drinks just to try to help them. And I know if I give them a strong drink, it could just put them into a Herxheimer or a healing crisis. Like, it's just too strong for them. We give them that Morningstar mineral drink first because it never gives people a Herxheimer or a die-off effect. It's very, very gentle. It works immediately. And they're so used to being toxic that they think that's their baseline. They feel immediate relief when they drink the fulvic acid in water like that. Immediate relief.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
They need it so bad. Like, when I drink it, I don't really feel anything because I'm not that toxic.
Right.
When I give it to someone who is, immediate relief.
Made amazing changes. Okay, so we've got fulvic, we've got humic acid, we've got zeolite. Let's jump over now. Let's talk about some more specifics on what foods people should be eating and what herbs that they should be taking to enhance their thyroid, get things going, and perhaps even be able to come off the drugs.
Okay, so you've got a detox program. You've got some exercises you can do for your thyroid. Now we want to nourish it nutritionally. So vitamins, vitamin A, which is like in the cod liver oil, or in like astaxanthin, a powerful antioxidant that protects us from radiation.
That's an amazing pigment, right? That comes from algae, astaxanthin, Astaxanthin, which is a red pigment that has very powerful immunomodulating effects. Does it have detoxification effects as well?
As an antioxidant, it's going to be protective. It's a powerful antioxidant.
Powerful antioxidant.
And, the sun is strong. The solar radiation today is pretty strong. And if we're out there a lot in it, and where iron's going up, and it's going in the thyroid, it's really getting stressed. And then, not to mention other artificial radiation that we're around, whether we're flying on an airplane a lot, or getting an X-ray in the head, or whatever.
So we always want to have more antioxidants for that radiation.
If you take like high doses of astaxanthin, like you're taking a couple teaspoons a day, and it's like $4,000 a kilo, you just can't get a sunburn. The antioxidant levels are so high. I eat the carotenoid pills from Jarrow, which has only got 400 micrograms of astaxanthin, but it's got all decent milligram levels of all the other carotenoids, the whole family. And they're all amazing antioxidants that help you metabolize copper and improve the cell binding theory. They protect you from radiation from carbon dioxide. It's a key antioxidant, but it's a nutrient for the thyroid too.
So like a serious part of this program then is to get the carotenoids, which is really like vitamin A. We've heard about vitamin A and beta carotene, right? But we really want to kind of go even further into it. Get the zeaxanthin, maybe that's the extract of the goji berry, which is a carotenoid. The astaxanthin, and the chlorophyll is actually a carotenoid, I was reading.
Wow, that's another top antioxidant on my program.
Okay, so
it's supposed to do the same thing, protect you from carbon dioxide in our air that we breathe, protect you from solar radiation. But it puts oxygen in the body, it converts carbon dioxide back into oxygen. And you don't really have to breathe that much. You feel like you have oxygen in your cells, and you can't feel altitude differences. I take 1,600 to 2,400 milligrams of chlorophyll a day.
Wow.
So I just drink half a bottle of sodium copper chlorophyll from alfalfa in the morning, or put that in with the fulvic acid drink. That's what, like the Ramadol drink I did at the last event was basically that. The fulvic acids with the chlorophyll, and then the minerals added. And then the probiotics, because the probiotics help us digest minerals.
Fantastic.
Like the mushrooms eating rocks. So we have vitamin A, B vitamins, very important for the thyroid. I take 1,500 micrograms of B12 a day, methyl B12.
Okay.
And then I
sublingual?
Swish it, bite it, swish it, hold it under the tongue. And B6, all the other B vitamins at a decent dose are important too. I usually eat about 2 raw fertile egg yolks a day. I throw the white away. Just, chew the yolk up with your mouth and hold it on your tongue for a little bit.
Are raw egg yolks safe to eat?
Well, is bacteria safe to eat? Is a raw salad safe to eat? A lot of raw foodists get parasites from eating raw salads because who's going to wash every little nook and cranny of that red bell pepper that's got some mold down in the corner that you didn't see? Bacteria is a part of life, and what protects us from it? Our immune system. Our hydrochloric acid levels in the gut, which is actually important, a part of thyroid health that I hadn't mentioned yet. Your probiotics in your gut, your pH in your esophagus, your mouth, your body, your immune system, your ability to protect itself from pathogens. We are more bacteria than human cells. We live in a free will universe, a diverse world of different kinds of microorganisms. So to try to take the hygienic route, I don't think is going to win in the long run. It's like Louis Pasteur even said on his deathbed, it's not about the germ, it's about the environment. So if you're interested in holistic health as a craft, as a lifestyle, then you start to get aware of these things that affect your general immunity. You don't eat so much white sugar and junk and alcohol, processed fats and processed food. You know how to cleanse and maintain that. You get in your good nutrients, get in your good bacteria, you get your sleep, you know how to adapt to stress, or maybe you meditate, you do yoga, you drink good water. These things are basics. Now you've got good immunity, and when you got good immunity, you don't have to worry about bacteria. So then you can eat a raw egg yolk and it's not going to harm you. It's as simple as that.
I want to mention that because did you discover that problem with the white of the eggs when you do it raw yourself, or did someone turn you on to that?
I'm just into a low methionine diet because I think methionine is a poison. And from excess protein from foods that are high in methionine, like meat, eggs, and the egg white, and fish and chicken and stuff, you start to make more homocysteine. And homocysteine is linked to shortening telomeres, which is shortening aging. I'm into a longevity program that requires me to keep that down and keep my telomeres at full length.
What are telomeres?
Well, your DNA is a spiral like this, and there's two ends on each side. Much like the plastic encasement at the end of your shoelace that stops it from fraying, that's what a telomere is on the end of your DNA strand. So every time your cells duplicate, the telomere gets shortened by a little increment. And as toxic load goes higher, more free radical damage as you get older, homocysteine going up, a poison. Instead of one little increment of telomere shortening for each cell division, 3 increments shorten. It gets progressively worse. Now, when you're young and your telomeres are fairly long, genetically you don't look that much different because your genes aren't changing too much as you duplicate cells. So you look pretty good at 15 and at 20 and at 25 to 30. But after that, after a while, it starts changing. The telomeres get so short that all those genes that were youth genes start turning off, and all these new genes that are correlated with a new body and producing new proteins that make us look older are turning on. And that's why a 2-year-old looks a lot different than a 72-year-old.
Right.
So, telomeres is getting a lot of attention in rejuvenation and longevity and anti-aging, and I'm personally excited about it and ways to slow down telomere shortening and maybe to grow back telomeres to turn on the youth gene. And also, like with the cell binding theory I've been experimenting with, ways to slow down cell replication, cell division in the first place. The average person is, they say duplicating 1 million cells a second, losing them, and recreating them. And every time you make a new cell, you throw away a little bit of information, that telomere gets a little shorter, and the next one is genetically a tiny bit less imperfect than the one before it. I mean, it takes 5 years to see that you're evidence that you're getting older or that you're changing, but that's kind of what's happening.
Okay. I was reading a book that was written about 150 years ago in the raw food field, and one of the things that had come up in the research with doctors back then is that the white of the egg eaten raw has very powerful enzyme inhibitors in it, and it can actually shut down digestion very intensely, as much or more than overdosing on nuts.
Yeah.
And
I can tell you, I used to eat the white and the yolk once a day, and I didn't do the eggs as much. I'd do one every other day or so. As soon as I got more focused on the thyroid, and I knew the importance of the raw egg yolk, I started eating 2 to 3 egg yolks a day and throwing the white away, and I felt better immediately.
okay, that's interesting.
think-
So it's not the Rocky story where you crack the whole darn thing. No.
No.
Okay. So B vitamins. So we're all the way to B12. B17. Any relationship there in the thyroid?
Is that the same thing as TMG?
That's Laetrile. TMG is trimethylglycine,
Trimethylglycine.
which
Another
is
methyl vitamin.
that's vitamin B15, if I recall. And trimethylglycine is a very powerful liver detoxifier. It's a methylator, a detoxifier, which is probably good for anybody who has thyroid issues.
Yeah, it helps your antioxidants. It helps your glutathione, methylsulfonylmethane, methyl B12, folic acid, the TMG, the trimethylglycine. Yeah, the methyl donors are amazing. They work like antioxidants in different ways, and they help with not having as much DNA damage and shortening of telomeres, so they can slow down aging.
Fantastic. Now, vitamin C. What do you think about that for a nourishing program for the thyroid?
Vitamin C is very important for the thyroid. In fact, a year ago, the very first time I took a packet of 1,000 milligrams of lipospheric vitamin C, which, according to Live On Labs, the World Health Organization says they set the world record with 38 packets, 38,000 milligrams of vitamin C taken orally, and they got to 440 in the blood level of vitamin C, which broke the record for a human being that was previously 220. So they're saying it's stronger and faster than IV drips of vitamin C. So the first time I took the vitamin C packet, I knew the importance of the mucosa in the capillaries in the mouth and the tongue, under the tongue. So I swished it with a little water for a couple of minutes in my lips and held it under the tongue, and I felt the vitamin C immediately flushing my thyroid.
Wow.
Knowing I was deficient. First time I took a ketone hypertonic, as to a nutritionist friend of mine, Arnell in Venice, he told me to hold it under my tongue a long time. He said it would go into my thyroid and then my thymus. Felt the same thing. I had a deficiency. I felt the flushing of those nutrients go right into that thyroid gland where I need it.
Let's hold it right there. I want to go back to those two products. So liposomal vitamin C, which is like a fat-soluble vitamin C. Is there a product that you can recommend there?
There's two that are on the market that are really good. Live On Labs makes lipospheric vitamin C. It's about $38, $35 a box for 30 packets. You really want 3 packets a day. That's the ideal target.
Wow.
It's 3,000 milligrams a day for maintenance. And if you have a viral infection, you can take
more.
You can take 10 packets. You can take a high dose in a day. But you know, the word vitamineral means vital. The word vitamin comes from the two words vital mineral. So really, vitamins are minerals too. They're elements. So there's a ratio and balance how minerals work best for optimum longevity. And I believe that is about 3,000 milligrams a day for maintenance of vitamin C. If it's too high, too long, it'll push your copper down or it'll throw another nutrient out.
That's so interesting. That's exactly the number that I came up with, 3,000 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So let's go on to the next piece of that, which is the quintone C plasma.
Yeah, I'm going a little ahead of myself. The vitamins A, B, C, I want to just mention D.
Okay.
Vitamin D is important.
Okay.
If you don't really go out in the sun that much, which you don't want to do unless you've got the right antioxidants and low levels of iron and high copper anyway, and you've never taken vitamin D before, you should get your vitamin D tested along with your thyroid. Because it could be under 10 if you're really in trouble, or it could be under 20 or 30. You've got to be over 30 to be healthy. But ideal levels is more like 40 to 60, and really good therapeutic levels would be like 70 to 80. And so
now you're talking about vitamin D3
now
specifically,
there's some
right?
in your food. There's some in the egg yolks. There's 1,200 units in a tablespoon of wild Alaskan salmon oil. But on top of that, because I'd never done it before, and I had a blood panel coming up for the first time, I decided to take 12,000 units a day of vitamin D3 from cold fusion raw food state fermented yeast. This is mega food. I'm really into the source of the vitamins. I'm not going to go out there and just buy some vitamin D3 in a vitamin pill that I don't know really how it's made or where it comes from. It's got magnesium stearate and other things in it that I don't really want. So these pills from mega food, they look like rabbit pellets. And this is food. You can just, put them in your mouth and chew them up and eat them. And they taste amazing. And you can swish it around, hold it on your tongue, get it right in. I did that for 30 days. They say it takes about 60 days to get your levels up. My vitamin D level is 62.3, which was right in there.
Wow, that's actually very good.
Perfect range. In just 1 month, on the first time taking vitamin D ever.
Amazing.
In my life.
Wow.
And now I halved it. I'm down to 6,000 units a day for maintenance, which is 3 tablets, 2,000 IU tablets a day. And I do my egg yolks and my oil. And that's working good. So I wanted to mention the D. After the vitamins...
So D3, just on that...
boosts the immune system.
Yeah, it affects more biological markers for health than anything ever discovered, vitamin D3. It affects more genes it turns on more genes that are related to health than anything ever discovered. Actually, out of 30,000 genes that have been identified as being markers for health, it turns on somewhere between 3 and 4,000 of them over 10%, which is more than anything else ever.
Yeah.
Which
It's like a hormone, so I think
Yeah.
it's important for your jing.
I agree.
As all the hormones are. And because of the improvement on the immune system, it can start to reduce any autoimmune symptom that a lot of people have that's attacking the thyroid, creating part of the problem.
Hashimoto's,
Yeah.
etc. Okay, so then let's keep going.
Then I go to minerals.
Okay,
Zinc.
well, let's do the quintone now. Because you mentioned the
quintone's a
quintones.
multi-mineral, so I'd first like to mention a couple of individuals.
Okay,
And that, like being zinc, number one.
okay, zinc.
I take 100 milligrams of zinc a day.
What form?
Most people can't take that much. I take about 60 milligrams a day in an ionic angstrom liquid,
Okay,
so that it metabolizes well.
I
don't
really
just
love that
take it in a
stuff.
pill. And then the cold fusion raw food state vitamins, like the mega food, because it comes from the yeast, it's totally bioavailable by the body. And there's a product called Hair, Skin, and Nails, which is 15 milligrams of zinc and 1 milligram of copper and like 3 milligrams of sulfur and silica and a little bit of natural folate and vitamin E. Great product, tastes amazing. Chew those up and eat them in the morning as part of my food. I could literally, if I wrote a book on nutrition, I'd probably put a photograph of a little white dessert dinner plate, and I'd put all these beautiful different colored rabbit pellets on there, and a little garnish of celery, and just take a photo of it. Because that with a glass of water with fulvic acid and chlorophyll and iodine in it, and then you're not a breatharian, you're a supplementarian.
That's sounding amazing. Can you say that product again, just so everyone's clear about that?
Same company as the D3 I take, Mega Food. They're yellow bottles. A lot of good health food stores around the country carry them. I've even seen them up in Canada, in Vancouver. They've got the whole line. They do hair, skin, and nails.
Okay.
And it's a multi-mineral. So you're getting another 15 milligrams of zinc and some silica, sulfur, and copper, and a few other vitamins. And that one tastes the most intense, but it's really good out of all their products that I eat.
What other minerals?
Zinc, or the zinc, selenium. Selenium's really important for the thyroid. You don't need a lot, but I do the ionic angstrom, or it could be a fermented raw vitamin like New Chapter. They ferment their vitamins so it works totally in a bioavailable state like food.
I've read 300 to 400 micrograms of selenium for the thyroid is the high dose. Micrograms, very small amount.
Even 200, if you just keep taking it a day. You don't need a lot.
Okay.
And now after zinc and selenium, it's really down to trace minerals, multi-minerals. The thyroid just really loves minerals in general. It needs them. So ketone is my favorite. I use the hypertonics for people that are hypothyroidism, that are underactive.
Okay, so there's different quintone products.
Two ketones.
And it's Quinton,
Yeah.
right? Or original quintone, QUINTON.com, originalquintone.com.
Make sure you get the original. There's 24 vials in a box. There's 4 flats with 6 vials in each one, 6 times 4, 24. Because there's a knockoff of seawater that's packaged with ketone packaging, sold out of Canada for half the price. Some people, at least, I don't know if that product's still around, but just so you know, you want to get the real deal.
Okay.
Because Renee Ketone has photos in a book I've seen over like 100 years old of him injecting like a box of this stuff into an infant covered head to toe with infection, and they does a photo each week, and in a month they're totally well. It's amazing.
That is a miracle
these
product.
living DNA, probiotic, somatite, protite, primitive bacteria, minerals for the blood, how amazing they are for your health. But they go right into the thyroid. Now the hypertonic is 3 times stronger in minerals than the isotonic. So like acupuncture is called a hypertonic yang and the isotonic yin.
Okay.
So for people with underactive thyroids, hypothyroidism, we give them the hypertonic.
Okay.
1 to 2 a day.
And it's the darker colored one,
Yeah,
right? So if we're hypothyroid, we want to take the darker colored quintone
it's
product.
like an amber yellow.
Yeah.
And the iso is just clear.
Right.
Totally clear like water.
Okay.
And the hyper tastes salty, whereas the iso tastes like water.
Right.
Because of the mineral difference. But you crack the tip. It's food grade glass. Can't hurt yourself with this. I mean, if a little piece gets in there, it'll dissolve, but usually doesn't. Snap the glass, snap the other tip, drain it under your tongue. Let it sit for several minutes. If you're really mineral deficient first time, you'll feel the minerals go right into your thyroid.
Okay.
Maybe in your thymus. Now, if someone who's hyperthyroidism, overactive, don't give them the hypertonic because they might not sleep at night. They might have so much energy. Like my mother, for instance, had hyper. and she can't take the hypertonic.
So she's got to take the isotonic, the clear one.
And this is a good point to go back to iodine. With that nascent iodine, if someone has hyperactive, overactive thyroid, they can't take it by the droppers. They can't do that therapeutic dose of 15 to 100 milligrams a day. They have to take, one drop is 400 micrograms. They have to take about 3 to 5 drops a day. That's all they can do first half of the day. Any more than that, it's like caffeine. They can't sleep at night because it revs up the thyroid system. But that little tiny bit of iodine can improve their thyroid health over the long term and help it get better.
Okay.
So
let's talk a little bit about coconut oil in the thyroid, because that's definitely in the food herb category. There's a lot of talk about coconut oil.
This is one of my favorite, like, anti-hyperthyroid immediate snacks that I take whenever I need energy at work or throughout the day.
Okay.
I take a big scoop, about 3 tablespoons of extra virgin raw coconut oil, hexane-free, like Nutiva, and then I have a Soleil from Himalayan salt, or I'll just grab some Celtic salt, and I'll put the salt on top. I like the taste, but I know the minerals are good going with the coconut oil for my thyroid. I just put it in my mouth, and I chew it up until it dissolves really well, and just swallow it. And then I do a second one, so I take 6 tablespoons of coconut oil, maybe up to twice a day. And it's like, for me, any little sort of like low energy symptom of hypo, just gone. I feel amazing. It's a metabolic increasing fat. It's 60% medium chain triglyceride. So it doesn't get stored as fat by the body, even though it's a saturated fat. It's converted to fuel instantly. The glycerol molecule in coconut oil splits with your saliva, so that you don't need bile acid from your liver to break it down. It goes right through your system. Now, I have experienced maybe 3% of average people coming from the bar over years don't digest coconut oil, so they can't eat that much.
Yeah, I've experienced that too. For whatever reason, allergies, just food sensitivities, whatever it is.
But for most people, it works well.
Yeah.
And for like me and some of the people I've helped that are on a lower sugar and a lower carbohydrate diet, we're replacing those calories with the calories from fats to get our ATP. And we can make more ATP that way. We can make up to 140 ATPs per cycle on the fat burning cycle, compared to 2 to 42, depending on how well we utilize insulin on sugar and carbs. That's why the long distance runners, they really train themselves to run at a certain heart rate speed so that they burn fats instead of carbs, because they can go forever without having to pick up their blood sugar and eat stuff. Now, when you do that, you're making insulin more anabolic. Insulin is huge. That's why I like holy basil as well as an herb for hypothyroidism, because it's going to modulate your insulin.
The holy basil is a miracle herb. You've mentioned 2 Ayurvedic herbs to me in the past, that, in particular, that you really like for hypothyroidism. One of them is holy basil or tulsi. The other is ashwagandha. Can you go deeper into those 2?
Yeah, ashwagandha helps convert T4 to T3, so that's really good. It helps cleanse the liver and improve the liver in a way so that it does this conversion better. Ashwagandha is one of the most famous herbs, probably the #1 herb for thyroid health. After that would probably be guggalipid and bladderwrack. Guggalipid is a tree sap, another Ayurvedic herb. It can help with cholesterol and help with thyroid hormone manufacturing.
How is that spelled?
Guggul.
Okay.
IPID.
Okay.
Google lipid. It's
Guggalipid.
a weird herb, yeah.
It's not a website.
Yeah, but it's a great thyroid herb that a lot of people have not heard of. Ashwagandha, though, is top. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen, immune system, energy, improving short-term memory, long-term memory, longevity. It's really an amazing Jing tonic, but it's the most targeted to thyroid. So we've got, for herbs, we've got ashwagandha, I'd put as #1, and then I put guggalipid #2. I put bladderwrack #3. It's the most medicinal seaweed without a doubt, even if you just get a bladderwrack capsule. Pretty hard to cook the stuff from whole sources. I've tried before. It's very tough. So an extract is easy to take.
Okay.
And very valuable in minerals.
I've picked bladderwrack on the shores of Vancouver Island near Tofino in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, what an amazing source of bladderwrack there.
Vancouver's beautiful.
Beautiful. You've mentioned that thyroid hormone contains tyrosine. Should we be taking tyrosine supplementally?
I think it's a great supplement for cognitive function, for dopamine synthesis. I think there's a lot of benefits to be gained from learning about individual amino acids taken in a pure pharmaceutical grade form that you mix in water, that you take completely empty stomach, maybe with a proteolytic enzyme to help it digest. because the amino acids, the body's a protein-producing machine. These amino acids are building blocks for neurotransmitters, and neurotransmitters make hormones and build your jing. And we tend to burn out all our serotonin and throw off things, norepinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol. It's all affecting other hormone imbalance and our thyroids ultimately. So
all those things like that you just named, serotonin, adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, are all built up out of amino acids.
Yeah, I
right?
take arginine, citrulline, tyrosine, taurine, carnitine, glutamine, a branch chain amino acid with lysine. I take phenylalanine because that's precursor to tyrosine.
Okay.
But specifically for thyroid, I think tyrosine is important.
Is specific, yeah. I've always recommended people take it with megahydrate, which is a particular supplement that was developed by Dr. Patrick Flanagan, which is a hydrogen antioxidant supplement that helps to deliver the tyrosine. Because a lot of problems with the thyroid also is the oxidation of the tyrosine. It doesn't actually get in there or gets oxidized before it's able to do its job.
Well, that's why you do want to take it with good water, and you want to take it on empty stomach. And I have 8 ounces of water, and I've got all these amino acids. 1 gram of these pure amino acids equals 15 grams of protein to the body.
Wow.
It does not take 4 to 6 hours to break down, become freeform through the liver like when you eat protein foods. So this is fast nutrition for the body. Now when I stir all that up, it tastes pretty good. I swallow it with a SAMe and it's the best form of methionine that doesn't create homocysteine.
Okay.
It's a methyl
So
donor.
SAMe.
Yeah, SAMe.
Yep.
Methyl donor, anti-aging, great for the joints, great for depression, sleep, great form of methionine that doesn't produce homocysteine. It's the reverse.
Okay.
And I take it with NAC, the best form of cysteine, another amino acid, a great antioxidant. And I take a few enzymes with it, and now I don't just drink it though. I take a gulp and hold it in my mouth.
And really, yeah.
And then hold it under the tongue a little bit, swish, while I'm getting my magnesium oil on in the morning for my routine. And I take it down slowly that way, so it's the closest thing I can mimic naturally without assaulting my body by doing an IV drip. It's the closest thing I can do as far as absorption is an IV drip of getting amino acids straight in the system. Some of it's getting in the bloodstream by doing this without even having to digest. So if you've got a clean, direct throughput, the amino acids you buy in a health food store that have magnesium stearate and cut with other fillers, if you try taking some of those, they're good still. You're going to get some benefit from that amino acid. But then if you stop taking it and you buy an order like from Now Sports on the internet, from a bodybuilding website or something, a pharmaceutical grade pure amino acid, and try taking that at the same dose, you'll notice an immediate boost and improvement in the absorption and the efficacy and how you feel. So quality is important.
Quality is important. Yeah. Let's talk about probiotics. Now, there's this whole piece that you've added to your thyroid program now based on the latest information about the uptake of T3 due to friendly bacteria in the gut. And I'm wondering if you could go through that for us.
Yeah, the thyroid mostly makes T4.
Okay.
A little bit of T3, which is usable. The majority of that T4, a little over half of it, has to be shuttled to the liver, converted by a healthy liver into T3 and usable. Now, that leaves 40%. 20% approximately becomes reverse T3, which is just detox, not used by the body.
Gone.
The other 20% goes into the digestive tract. Now, the average person today, you're supposed to have 80% beneficial bacteria, 20% opportunistic. It's sort of flip-flopped today. That's why I like autism and ADHD and allergies and candida and sugar cravings and alcohol cravings and skin fungal infections and insomnia and PMS and headaches and on and on. There's so much of that. So candida is such a tag word in the health world today. Like people think, do I have candida? Because there's so many symptoms that come with it.
It's just dysbiosis, right?
Yeah.
Just the bad bacteria and the good bacteria are fighting each other.
It's like pulling all the roses out of your garden, leaving the weeds. Water the garden, it overgrows with weeds. You've got a major imbalance in your body. And if at first it just stays in the colon, and if it's only in the colon, it's easy to fix. But if it becomes chronic long term, you get leaky gut syndrome, it gets into the bloodstream, becomes systemic. Systemic candida is major chronic fatigue, major fungus that can turn into other things. It's really, really quite brutal at that point.
Any particular probiotic supplements that you recommend, or strategies, fermented foods, cultured foods?
Well, you see, all of this, getting the colon clean so that you can improve the pH and repopulate all the healthy bacteria. It's going to do so much for your health, your digestion, immune system, energy, weight, skin, how good you feel, your attitude, like it's a natural antidepressant. Probiotics are evolved species, and they produce B vitamins and folic acid in the gut on the fly. They do biological transmutation, converting minerals like silica into calcium. Really, really important for your health. But they will convert 20%, that thyroid hormone that gets dumped in your digestive tract, if the probiotics are there at a sufficient level, will convert that back into usable T3. You can get 18 to 20% increase in your usable T3 through boosting your probiotics.
Okay, so I mean, I've always liked Dr. Ohhira's probiotics. I like cultured vegetables. I like the kefirs that they have at the health food store that you work at. Any other products you'd recommend?
Well, first stage, if someone knows that their probiotics, they're just is off balance, they're good bacteria, they need to detox and make the shift. Might start with a soil-based organism probiotic, SBO, ancient microbes from the dirt that are a little more antibiotic in their nature. They're really good for cleansing, aggressive house cleaners. They eat up the pathogens and the
mucus,
the putrefied food and undigested stuff, and sort of start cleansing it out. So Primal Defense is the most popular soil-based product on the market in health food stores today in America. Get the powder. Start with a scoop a day and a glass of water on empty. Make sure you don't get too much Herxheimer reaction. See what happens. Work your way up to 15 scoops a day.
Whoa.
For like a few months to do a cleanse. If you want to get a slightly better product, you can go online, and there's a multi-level marketed product called Nature's Biotics by Life Science. And Dr. David Jubb used to use this product, and Annie Jubb. Same thing, start with 1 pill a day, work your way up to 12 for like 3 months, and do some colonics. It'll really clean stuff out. And now David Jubb has a life colloid, actually the raw, black, like dirt and mud with the living bacteria in it. And my mother actually bought one of these big cans. It's like a couple grand for a kilo. And you take a teaspoon of this and mix it in water and drink it every morning, and you can increase your dose. That's a great cleansing probiotic first stage. If you're going to take resident probiotics like acidophilus and bifidus, do that at a separate time of the day. Do your SBO in the morning for cleansing. You take your acidophilus bifidus at night.
Okay.
Now, my favorite resident probiotics, there's some okay ones in the health food store, like Natron has bifidofactor and megadophilus, but you got to take tablespoons of that stuff. And ideally stir it in a fermented beverage to activate it, like a glass of coconut water kefir, or one of the Body Ecology fermented beverages off the Body Ecology website. The strongest the strongest resident probiotic that I like is Custom Probiotics, customprobiotics.com. CP1, the 6-strain adult formula, 330 billion organisms per 1/3 teaspoon. To really address things like candida and get your good bacteria levels up, you have to take at least 500 billion per serving to get therapeutic. BioK Plus is okay. It's only 50 billion, but it's in a live active state in the cultured yogurt, which is decent, but it's only 2 strains. So the CP1 is fantastic. For therapeutic shifts, we do sometimes 2 rounded teaspoons, which could be like 3 trillion organisms, 6 live human strains. Stir it up. You could do it in plain water, but it's better if you stir it in a fermented beverage like coconut water kefir.
Now, if I'm new, I don't start there. Those are too powerful, right? I might overwhelm myself with friendly bacteria, which can cause a reaction just because my body's not used to it.
It can happen. It's hard to do. I've given a lot of strangers walking in off the street at Erewhon a rounded teaspoon, 1.5 trillion, CP1, and 4 ounces of kefir as a shot immediately to just boost their immune system right away, whether they have a cold or they're not feeling good, as a detox, and boost their well-being right away. They feel a lift. You might feel a little bit high for a few minutes as the bacteria is going to work on you because they love you. They're doing all kinds of beneficial things in your system. But it's really pretty safe. It's pretty safe. If you're on a program and you're doing other detox stuff, like all the stuff we've talked about, and you're going to do it every day, to take that much every day, you could start going, if you have some systemic viral or fungal infections, you could start going into some heavy-duty Herxheimer detox where you feel like you have a flu, you want to stay home in bed. That's extreme. So, for the long term, just the minimum dose, like a third of a teaspoon, even every other day. You take a rest day because those bacteria stay fairly high in the system for 1 to 3 days.
Okay. Now let's jump back into herbs. So we've talked about some amazing herbs to take. Some that have been left off the list. Why don't you just jump in on what the next one was?
Yes, Hushu Wu. Hushu Wu is Polygonum multiflorum. This is like the premier longevity, rejuvenation, anti-aging herb in Chinese medicine. Kidney, yin, jing, blood, the bones, endocrine system, fertility, virility, can quadruple the sperm count in a man in a month, according to Ron Teagarden. Makes
I
your
love
hair
Ho Shou Wu.
grow
What a
thick
great
and
herb.
fast. Your fingernails can reverse gray hair. It's an amazing herb. I had an experience, like a mid-late 30s customer. For whatever reason, maybe because she's working a lot and her adrenals were a little run down, we just started her on one herb, Ho Shou Wu, $22 for a bottle, put her on a decent dose. In a week, she told me, her mother told me first actually, that her goiter had gone away. I didn't even know she had a goiter. And I didn't know that much about thyroid health at that point, but I knew that it was something with the thyroid that made it swell up that wasn't really particularly good. And it sounded to me like she had known she'd had some thyroid problems and she had lived with a slightly inflamed thyroid with a goiter that was swollen for a fairly long period of time and just had never really quite addressed it. And because she was an actor and she was working hard and she was just run down and she needed to replenish, she was on a budget, she could only afford something cheap for $20. We gave her Ho Shou Wu and told her to take 9 a day. And in a week, she came back and said her goiter just went away. So I think because all the jingers work on all the endocrine glands, they work on the 7-gland theory in Taoism, they affect the thyroid. But I've seen Ho Shou Wu work pretty fast on the thyroid.
Let's talk about the 7 glands. In the very beginning, we got into the root, and you went right up to the thyroid up here, number 5 position. Let's go through them. So we've got...
Well, the lower chakras, or the lower glands, in the 7-gland Taoist system, the first glands are the testes for the man or the ovaries for the woman, the sex glands. And then the second gland, the house of water, they call it, the kidneys, because it's connected to the kidneys, are the adrenal glands.
Okay.
Little cone-shaped glands that sit on top of the kidneys. And then the third gland is the pancreas. So this is important with how anabolic we can utilize insulin and enzymes and digestion. And then the third gland is the thymus. This is a major anti-aging gland, a really precious gland for the body. When we're like 12 years old and our immune system's at max, it's like the size of a plum. And as people mature in age, it shrinks like a grape and then a raisin. It gets very small. It sends very special hormones to the pituitary to help make growth hormone and other things. And it's part of our ATP production and our energy, the thymus. Thymus is connected to the heart chakra. Pancreas is like solar plexus chakra, third chakra. And so 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth chakra, thyroid, communication, expression. Like in some ways I feel like maybe because I quit expressing myself artistically in certain areas of my life while I was going through healing, that in a way I shut down some expressive aspects of myself and I pushed it in and kind of held it. And that could have something to do with inhibiting your thyroid. So if you're one of these people that there's an artist in you and you're sensitive and you should believe in your ability to express yourself and you should use those skills and open it up, and because there's a sense of well-being that will come through you. You know, I read something really amazing in a channeled book. People that are very uninspired, they have no joy, they're not really motivated about anything. You measure the DHA levels in their blood. It's extremely low.
DHA or DHEA?
DHEA.
Okay, the
is
hormone
a major
DHEA.
adrenal hormone.
Okay.
Your immune system, again, your vitality, your energy, kind of like thyroid hormone.
Okay.
Very important marker for your health and how vital you are. Now, people who are incredibly inspired, in spirit, motivated, they open a vacuum through their heart-like chakra to attract source energy through them to move towards that which they desire to create and manifest because they're so in love with an idea of something they're creating. You measure the DHA level in that person and it's sky high. So your attitude and how you feel and how you express yourself, this is huge. And I just bring that up because we're talking about the throat chakra.
Because the throat is that's a creative, from the word is creation.
Well, we're limiting our own, by not expressing ourselves, we feel inadequate, our belief on our ability to accomplish and achieve our desires on our own and create that. So we're kind of saying no to the universe. We're pushing it down, blocking it off, holding it in. And then the emotion builds up because the natural desire and the love to express yourself is strong, and you're blocking it. I bet you that suppresses the thyroid.
I mean, there always is this emotional and maybe even psychological or psycho-spiritual component to every condition, right? So the thyroid, it appears, is what you're alluding to. It has something to do with this inability to speak your truth, to run out into the world and create, to develop, to be inspired.
I mean, you're a public speaker, and you're good at it. And other actors and public speakers and people, if people that know how with kinesiology to measure the activity of each chakra, their throat chakras are like
Open.
yeah. So that's the fifth gland in the
Okay.
Taoist endocrine gland series. And then the pituitary gland is the sixth gland,
Okay.
which is kind of in the center of the head, deep kind of down in here. Most people think it's the third eye up front, but that's the frontal lobe. Pituitary gland is kind of more like the center of the head, down a little lower. And it's a little pear-shaped gland with two slices in it and an opening facing the front. And in the spiritual teachings, they say that's kind of like the receiver part of the brain for consciousness. Consciousness flow is all this data and information flowing like a river of thought through our cells and our planets that hold them in orbit. And most people's pituitary glands only open a tiny bit. So in the old days, it used to be open a lot. We used to breathe through it. And we used to use so much of our brains and be so conscious and connected to the universe as our quantum computer is supposed to be. But most people's closed, and only a few percent comes in. The rest is bouncing off all the time. So the pituitary gland is responsible for human growth hormone, which is really important. Thyroid hormone is connected to growth too. That would be the sixth chakra, the pituitary, and then the seventh chakra, or the seventh gland, would be the pineal gland, which makes melatonin. This is another thing, like knowing how to prepare yourself for a really good night of deep sleep and to go into deep REM sleep state, rapid eye movement, where you produce large amounts of melatonin, which creates a hormone cascade, and the body will shut down energy for digestive system and kidney, other area. It'll put it all into the brain. Two things are happening here. The things that you focus on intentionally by giving your thoughts to and looking at and visualizing and manifesting and meditating and speaking about and reading about during the day in your conscious mind, those things in that REM sleep state are actually wiring in the brain so that you can set up the neurological hookups to attract through the quantum field the ability to manifest the end result of what you've been giving your attention to. This is something
Nice.
they teach in ancient mystery schools. But the other thing that's happening in deep REM sleep state is you get this massive hormone cascade where all your anabolic hormones boost, your growth hormone goes up, and you actually can really become younger in your sleep, like heal deeply.
That's awesome.
We call it the druid sleep at the tonic bar when you learn how to do this.
So let's keep going on herbs.
So the Taoists would talk about cultivating qi in the first gland of the seven gland system.
Yep.
And they would breathe into their testicles, so they would breathe into the kidneys. And they would think that and take slender, slow, deep breaths into the nose. You don't have to breathe up into your chest. And when I do that, I feel the heat go up to my head immediately and the pressure and the tingling. It's like you're breathing through the soles of your feet. The breath is slowly going down so deep. It's so subtle and so powerful. It's like the diaphragm, like a balloon, is kind of sucking qi into the core. And it's pumping it into those glands. And then it spills up into the next gland and the next gland and the next gland. And this is part of the microcosmic orbit. And learning how to do abdominal qi breathing into the core, which then can recharge the whole body. And you can do it and look like you're totally normal while you drive your car or sit and wait in a chair somewhere in the office or whatever. It's really good to learn abdominal qi breathing.
This is reminding me of a really important stem cell building, nature's answer to steroids, super herb that is going to help to bring that Jing energy in to be driven upwards into the thyroid, which is the deer antler.
Yeah, that's the last herb on my herbal system for thyroid.
Okay.
Because it's a major endocrine tonic. It's fast. It's got growth factors in it if it's a high quality product. So with degenerative thyroid problems where you've actually had autoimmune for years and it's attacked thyroid tissue, those growth factors could possibly help grow back those thyroid parts. And because deer antler is tonic to the marrow of the bones, this is a large aspect of Jing. This is something that separates the young from the old. At about 50, the Taoists say, your bone marrow dries up, it turns gray, and it no longer produces stem cells and red and white blood cells. Your aging process is accelerating at that point. When you're young, it's pink, and the marrow is plump, and it's producing stem cells. And measuring stem cells is really a marker for health in youth and vitality. And it can be done. You can measure your antioxidant levels with a laser through your hand. You can measure your stem cells. So building bone marrow health, like Peter Ragnar does magnetic qigong that packs bone marrow qi into the bone marrow. Even rebounding weight-bearing exercises. Whereas like people that only do yoga for decades, they actually sometimes end up, as they get older, break their hip in yoga because they've lost bone density. They're not building the marrow because they're not interacting with gravity very much. Or cyclists or swimmers that just do that. But rebounding, 2 Gs on the mat 100 times a minute, you're flexing the bone marrow. Building muscle mass creates a pull on the bone marrow. Getting body fat down and muscle up from working out a bit will increase testosterone and other anabolic hormones. So this is good. But deer antler makes the bone marrow grow. It keeps it pink and moist much longer so it doesn't age. It can even reverse it, some of the Taoists believe.
Okay.
And there's,
So if I've been...
there's IGF-1 boosting with the deer antler. And
insulin-like growth factors and
Yeah.
many other growth factors that you've alluded to. So if I have a thyroid condition and I'm taking like deer antler, is there something else I can take with it, maybe for a 1-2 punch to really get my rejuvenation happen? Say I've had half my thyroid removed.
Yeah. You could try really good colostrum powders,
Okay.
shots under the tongue for like a first milking product for extended periods of time, because the growth factors can help rejuvenate stuff and eat up scar tissue. The FIT technology extract that Ron Teagarden has on deer antler, I've just recently learned, is the most potent deer antler I've ever had. And he has, on occasion, he's got some left, but it's selling very quickly. He has a private reserve, which is half FIT technology from the regular deer antler that they do, the Sika deer, and then 50% mallow deer, which is the spotted rare emperor's deer, the Chinese little deer that the emperors have in their garden that eat reishi mushrooms. And this is like a super soft, raw, light, smooth, not too young and hot. A deer antler that actually has shen, like it makes you kind of high.
Wow.
But I think I can feel the growth factors in this even more.
Okay, so you're talking about his $95 a bottle
Private
Changbai
reserve.
deer antler
Yeah.
drops kind of product. That's an incredible product.
The other thing that can help with the stem cell boosting to regenerate is a good glyconutrient product, the most famous of which is called Ambertose by
Okay.
Manitech. But it's a little pricey at $135 a can because you need to take pretty good doses, like a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons twice a day in a glass of water. It has the aloe, the mannan in it, the mannose, the zykose, the fucose, the N-acetylgalactomycin, N-acetylpyranamic acid. It's the essential, the 8 big
Essential sugars.
Yeah, the monosaccharides that are so great for the immune system. But they help generate stem cell production. There's been quite a lot of evidence. And,
That's an
research on that.
amazing combo right there. The colostrum, the deer antler, and the ambertose combo.
Yeah.
Any other foods we should be looking at?
New smoothie invention I came up with to help with possibly this stem cell health. Bone marrow mousse. Okay. I take 1 pack of wild New Zealand buffalo bone marrow. This is from an organic animal. You don't want to eat the marrow from an animal that's got hormones and stuff in it.
Because it all accumulates into the marrow, doesn't it?
And I get this at a special store, North Star makes these. Pop out the fresh marrow, the fat. It possibly has the stem cells in them and other good fats. Put that in the bottom of the Vitamix. 3 blocks of unsweetened acai. And I put in a little bit of my probiotics, and I put in some orange-flavored Arctic cod liver oil from Nordic Naturals, like a tablespoon, and I add in like 12 squirts of plain stevia, like a lot of stevia to bring the flavor up. And I open up like 12 capsules of astragalus. Astragalus has a saponin in it, astragaloside 4, which is what they use to make TA65, known to grow the telomeres back.
Right.
Upright chi in the DNA.
Right on.
So I've got this in the Vitamix, and I just pound this with the plunger hard and long until the fat from the bone marrow creams with the acai, and you've got this light, when I scoop it out with a spatula and put it in a mug, you have this light purple mousse. It's airy and fluffy like a mousse, like a chocolate mousse, but it's purple, and it tastes amazing. It's gourmet. It's like a French delicacy.
So acai, that you're talking about, the purple berry from the Amazon,
Yeah.
in there with everything else. So
Yeah.
what are you noticing from that?
Well, acai is a great antioxidant, I think, for weight loss and for blood sugar balance stuff. Similar to resveratrol, which has sirtuin-1 in it, which is really known for mimicking the calorie restriction and turning off the aging gene and insulin sensitivity improvement. And I think some of those antioxidant benefits are similar with acai to resveratrol. Not quite as potent, but still good. Sugar's low, unsweetened. It's only 2 grams per block, which I like. And it's the most fun way I've found to eat this bone marrow fat, which is not like something I'm going to just stick in my mouth normally. And I've moosed it up, and I've tried it with a few friends, and it's incredible. But there's, the word's not out fully, but I think there is some stem cell boosting naturally effect. Any part that you eat is going to nourish that part of the body. Even with vegetables, you cut a tomato in half and it has 4 chambers and it's red. It looks like your heart. It's got to be good for your heart, right? You eat the bone marrow from an organic wild bison. It's got to be good for your bones, right?
Right.
Which has got to be good for your stem cells.
So that idea then is, just to be clear about it, stem cells help us reproduce any tissue that's in our body.
Yeah, they're pluripotent, immortal, and
They're immortal
differentiated
cells.
cells. They can go anywhere when a broken down piece of tissue in an organ or a part of the body, and its RNA is splitting and it's trying to make a new cell, but it's really breaking down, and it's getting to the end of its Hayflick limit. The RNA will look for nucleotides. If there's a stem cell available for that it'll go there, and it'll create, instead of a 40-year-old cell, and you got a brand new cell. And so it's like having an enzyme, a youth enzyme inside your body that produces an internal, slow, natural organ transplant to any part of the body that starts breaking down, or he gets wounded, or has an injury. You know what I mean? That's the ability to self-heal.
Let's talk about your exercise program in relationship to the thyroid. Tell us a little bit about that.
Number 1, the 5 Tibetan rites, because it's spinning all those chakras, those vortex energy centers around those 7 major endocrine ductless glands, which we talked about in the Taoist system. So make a special point, chin to the chest, to squeeze and stretch that thyroid as you're doing. Right number 2, the leg lift, the chin comes up to the chest. Right number 3, the back bend, you stretch back to stretch the thyroid. You come forward, chin squeezes all the way down to squeeze that fatty tissue right in there to massage that thyroid and work that chakra. It's like a cone spinning like this, coming out both ways. We want to push, pull, energize it, cleanse toxic emotional stuff, blockages, get that out and get it revved up and functioning fully. Right number 4, when you're sitting down to do the tabletop, when your head goes down, you squeeze the chin all the way down to the chest. Right number 5, up dog, down dog in yoga. When you go down this way, you stretch the head back to stretch the thyroid. When you go up dog, you go up on the toes and curl the chin to the chest. This is what's so different from regular yoga. With up dog, down dog in regular yoga, you extend the calf, stretch the calf muscle, exhale on the stretch to open, because it's about detoxing. Tibetan yoga, like the 5 rites, it's the opposite. You go up on the toes, curl the chin to the chest, squeezing the thyroid, pull in your V, and then you tense all the muscles while you're holding the breath, because that's about pumping the endocrine glands and the chakras. It's about building yoga. It's not about detoxing yoga. So when I show people how to do the 5 rites correctly, they make them do a whole set of 21, and I do it grounded in the park, hands and feet, they really feel it. And that's really important. Next thing, thyroid massage. 2-3 minutes a day, massaging these glands. Here, with your thumb and forefinger, up and down. And then you could try squeezing the gland, holding it pretty steady while you bounce on a trampoline. You'll feel some pumping action going in there. Thyroid exercise alone, though, I think is enough, if that's all you want to do.
Just getting in there and moving it around.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about grounding. I mean, I've done a lot of research on being grounded barefoot on the earth, being connected to the electrical fields of the earth. The electrical fields of the earth are negatively charged. The thyroid is negatively charged. It's the most negatively charged portion of our whole body. And it appears to me, based on all of the cross-referencing of a huge body of research over the last 20 years, that the thyroid is the biggest electron reservoir in our body. And it actually appears to me that if we can get our thyroid on the ground, kind of like a shoulder stand in yoga, where our neck is on the ground, especially if it's on the actual floor of a park, on grass or on dirt, that we can get that electricity right into our thyroid, that really is a key to rebuilding the thyroid. So I wanted to put that out there as we're talking about this exercise program, because you and I are both into grounding. We're both standing on grounding mats right now. These are electrically connected to the earth, not to any DC current, that's for sure, or AC current. And what we're doing is we're actually pulling the ground to us electromagnetically so that we can actually sit here and talk to each other, and it feels like we're actually sitting and talking in the park. Yeah. This type of technology, grounding technology, is really important for thyroid health and health in general in order to rebuild the free electricity that is natural to us. What we found out, with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as I was referencing earlier, is that there's a massive oxidation reaction caused by depleted uranium, caused by uranium, plutonium, and all the radioactive minerals, and the thyroid is called forth to quench it, to actually put the fire out, and it can become deficient in electricity, and that's when it starts going into Hashimoto's autoimmune conditions or thyroid disease.
I'm convinced the EMFs, too, the thyroid is a target for that. It attracts radiation to a certain degree, and also static electricity. If you touch your car door and you get out and you get that electric shock, that means the static electricity has been building up high in your body. That's probably stressing the thyroid.
I completely agree.
So as soon as you ground, you discharge all that static electricity. And by getting closer to the ground, you're boosting the Earth's natural North Pole negative field of magnetism a little bit. And I sleep in a unipolar North Pole magnetic field from the bed setup that I have of magnets that are designed.
What do you mean by that? Meaning you're sleeping with your head facing the North Pole?
Magnets are designed in such a way for a couple of options for beds that are out there, for magnet beds.
Yeah.
Most of them are not good for you because the magnets are so far apart. You only have a little bit of North Pole coming up for a few inches. You have to sleep right on the magnets, and in between all the gaps of the magnets, you have these big South Pole spikes, which is like acupuncture, stimulating emergency response in the brain, draining AC/DC current chi from your chi system to send oxygen to those chi points. And you're doing it 8 hours a night. You can't do acupuncture for 8 hours a day. It'll drain your chi. Now, if you put magnets close enough together so that, like, if they're trying to repel each other, and you push it real close and you lock it into a grid, so that gap is so small, the South Pole spike only goes up for an inch because the polarity shift comes off on a 45-degree angle. So if this is a magnet, you draw a 45-degree angle like this. This is all north. That's all south. That's all south. That's all north. If the magnets are this far apart, you've got that much South Pole spike and then North Pole here, and your body's lying in the middle of that field. It's half north, half south, half north. Put the magnets real close together, little North Pole, little South Pole spike, all North Pole field. All the magnets merge together, creates a magnosphere for like 16 feet, 8 feet up and bottom, like one giant magnet.
So what is the name of that product?
Magnetic, there's two that are out there. The commercial ones that are shippable, that you can roll in a 75-pound layer and carry it if you need to, are by magneticosleep.com.
Okay.
And Dr. Bondley has a lot of great information on there, a 45-minute video lecture that you can watch to really learn what I've just talked about, the difference between bipolar magnetism and unipolar magnetism.
Mm-hmm. We want unipolar, right?
We want to create a magnetic field exactly like the north hemisphere of this planet that we put our body in, that we supplement, because the Earth's field is only 0.4 of a Gauss right now. In the dinosaur era, when you had these big biological organisms running around, it was 300 Gauss North Pole.
Whoa.
It's going down kind of rapidly. The Earth's crust is cooling. So if we supplement for 8 hours a night while we're sleeping, and we're lying in a 20 Gauss field, you've boosted the magnetic field of the Earth substantially. So North Pole magnetism scientifically is proven to increase oxygen to the cell and to inhibit cancer cells and pathogens like Candida, and increase nutrient absorption and improve cell health. And North Pole works like an antioxidant and reduces inflammation and helps the body to cleanse itself, promotes health. South Pole magnetism and North Pole is alkaline. South Pole magnetism creates acidity, can feed cancer cells according to the tests that you read on polarpowermagnets.com. These people make the other.
They make the other one.
Other unit that I know of. And this one, these guys are not commercial. They're scientists. They have a very industrial website. You read the professional page. They'll tell you what I'm talking about. North Pole is acid. South Pole is alkaline. South Pole is acid. North Pole is alkaline. South Pole takes oxygen away, feeds pathogens in cancer cells, and deprives nutrients from the cell. It's catabolic and creates free radicals. Not good. So if you can create a whole, now their system they make by hand with 4x6 plate magnets like what Peter Ragnar uses for magnetic Qigong, it's 600 pounds for a bed.
That's a serious
6
operation.
weeks to ship. These movers bring it in a truck and install it. And you put a little 2-inch latex rubber tree non-toxic foam pad on top of that, so that you only have a short space, enough that you're away from the little South Pole spike, but you're living in, while you lie flat, the max Gauss of North Pole field, which would be about 200 Gauss North Pole on the bottom of your body, like your kidneys and your lower back. About 100 if you drew a dotted line through the center of the body, up to about 65 Gauss at the top of your head. And if you're sleeping in that, you see all the minerals that spin, your 80% alkaline minerals. So they're all turning one way, the alkaline minerals. The valence electron's getting pushed by the North Pole magnetic field. So it's increasing the spin of the minerals, which is increasing molecular activity, chemical reactions, enzyme synthesis. You're growing enzymes in your sleep. It's like an enzyme antioxidant field.
I do want to say, when it comes to this type of technology, grounding, magnets, that this can have a dramatic effect in lowering your need for synthetic thyroid or desiccated thyroid. anecdotal reports and scientific research is now starting to point to being able to half the amount of these things that you need if you're already on these types of medications. So I do want you to be aware of that if you're watching right now, because this may indicate that you may have more troubles come up from even the same dosage you're taking right now. And also it's great, it's very promising because it's allowing you to perhaps even cut your dosage down significantly and get on a healthier thyroid program. So Truth, if you could just review for us the entire program in maybe 300 words or less, that'd be great. And tell us all how we can get a healthier thyroid using the specific protocols you've outlined.
Okay, well, avoid caffeine, alcohol, white sugar, white carbs, trans fats, processed food basically. Take indium sulfate, the silver bullet, indium Ease. You can get it online, $30 for a little bottle. 1 drop per 50 pounds of body weight on top of your tongue first thing in the morning. Take indium, take nascent iodine, appropriate drops for whether you're hypo, hyper. Most people can take 1 to 3 squirts a day and just stay on it. It's amazing. Take zinc, selenium, take a trace mineral. If you can afford the ketone hypertonic for most people, and then the hyperthyroidism people will take the isos, that would be your best mineral, and hold it under the tongue. And take vitamin A, but beta carotene, you can't just buy it in a vitamin pill. It's got to be natural. So there's one vitamin pill that does a whole food form, carotenool by Jarrow. You get it in your oils, some of your high quality salmon oil. You can get the astaxanthin, vitamin B, especially the B12. Jarrow makes 1,000 up to 5,000 microgram B12 sublingual, and with a B complex. And you can get B complex also just in whole food form by Mega Food that you can just eat, and they taste amazing. For the purists, the Mega Food vitamins are the way to go, because it's all food grown in a garden. It's cultured with yeast and compressed into a pill. It's raw. Vitamin A, B, vitamin C. 3 packets lipospheric vitamin C a day by Live On Labs, or the second company that I didn't mention, nanoliposomals.com. They do liposomal products as well, and they do a liposomal vitamin C. It's half the price, actually, and it's 1,000 milligrams. It's 1 gram per 1 teaspoon. Very potent. So you put a teaspoon under your tongue and hold it 3 times a day, or just take 1 tablespoon at once if you want to go for it. Very concentrated, but the delivery system's fantastic. So we have vitamin A, B, C, and take vitamin D, test your levels, try to get into that really healthy area between 40 to 60, ideally 70 to 80 up to. Toxicity doesn't borderline happen until 100, all the way until 150. Very hard to get that high. So it's pretty safe to take good doses of vitamin D for a long time. So we have vitamin A, B, C, D, and we have our minerals. And now thyroid herbs, ashwagandha. You can take pretty generous amounts of ashwagandha. You could take 6, 9, 12, up to 18 capsules a day if you wanted to.
18,000 milligram capsules?
500 milligram capsules. Okay. Or you could get ashwagandha a lot cheaper bulk from an Ayurvedic herb store. Mm-hmm. Not sure of the quality, but it's not that expensive of an herb. Bladderwrack, even just 2 capsules a day, 500 milligram capsules of a day of a good bladderwrack. Eclectic Institute makes a good bladderwrack extract. We've used a lot of Erewhon with good results.
Excellent.
Google lipid. Look that up online. It's a little more rare, but that's a good herb. Sometimes it may be in formulas with other Ayurvedic herbs. Hushu Wu, 6 capsules twice a day. My favorite Hushu Wu, I've got different companies because I've worked with Chinese herbs for so long. So frankly, I just go to Tea Garden Herbal Emporium. It's the company with the orange labels on them. Everyone gets confused. That's not Ron Tea Garden Dragon Herbs. Separate company, Tea Garden Herbal Emporium. They do a black Hushu Wu that I find is the strongest. And you can take 12 capsules a day, a bottle a week, for $24. It's totally worth it because of all the other benefits. Awesome. And you can take a little bit of deer antler, depending on how young you are. Some people can take more, some people take a little bit in the morning. As far as foods, I might consider 1 to 2 up to 3 raw egg yolks a day, fertile, organic, like free-range, good eggs. And I might consider eating, if you want to risk it, maybe the sardines once in a while, bristling Nordic wild-caught sardines with the skin and bones, in olive oil, no salt if you can, or drain them on a tissue to try to get as much of the oil off or any metals that may be in the liquids. But it's a lot of RNA and DNA and a lot of nucleic acids, omega-3s, calcium. It's a pretty, and there's iodine in these seafoods. Sea vegetables, really good. They're a little high in iron, and just like the fish, you're taking a risk with possible toxicity from the ocean, like arsenic and other stuff. But it's still a very nourishing, mineral-packed food that's pretty affordable if that's all you can get your hands on. And coconut oil, that's like my favorite. Put a high mineral alkaline salt on top of some scoops of coconut oil and eat it a couple times a day.
You mentioned Celtic sea salt. Other sea salts, I imagine, are great.
Miracle salt's probably my favorite.
I love Miracle salt. Great
next,
product.
the Himalayan salt.
Okay, and then the exercise program.
And the exercise program, you've got to massage your thyroid. It's just like, it's so easy to just give your thyroid a minute of attention every day and massage that gland. And you're thinking about it while you do it. So, the brain is a quantum computer. If we look at a neuron and break down a dendrite and zoom it up, and it looks like a spider web, and we zoom that up, it's a microtubule. We're talking about the ultra small here. There's filaments in here, like single atom proteins stacked in a line like a hair. And there's electrons moving in this freely, not bound to any one atom. They're moving both right turn and left turn at the same time. How can they do that? They exist at the quantum level. This is OR, Orchestrated Objective Reduction Theory. It's a quantum theory like they talked about in What the Bleep Do We Know, about how do our thoughts and how can our brain interact with the quantum field, and how can our thoughts affect our biology and our body and create our reality, like in the biology of belief. And so I call it the quantum intention theory. It's the seventh theory in all the aging theories that I kind of added and that I'm working on in a book right now. So see, when you put attention to something, you bless your vitamins and you ask them to do something for you before you eat your food. You're going to raise the vibration and set the intention to help it do that faster. And you're thinking about it. It's like a prayer, you see. And the more you believe it, and the more you do it, and the more you feel it and get excited about it, the more powerful it gets. And when you put your thoughts on your thyroid because you're putting your hands there and you're squeezing it and you know this is good for you, and you love your body because you want it to be an amazing vehicle for your experience here, and you want your thyroid to be great so you have energy and you're happy and you feel good and your metabolism is great and you stay warm and you're just anabolic, then you put some attention on your thyroid and use your hands and just give it that love and that attention, massage it.
Do the rebounding with it.
Yeah, you can squeeze it while you bounce, and you can feel some pumping action going in there. And the 5 Tibetan rites is, to me, the most... There was a time in my life when I was healing where I probably spent 3 hours a day doing internal exercises. And I just really wasn't living in the world very much. I was out in the parks doing my thing, and the neighbors, would always say, "Oh, there goes the funny guy," or the yoga guy. It's like nobody knew who the heck I was, because I was so busy doing all these things in my health routine. But I surrendered to that in order to heal at that time. I don't really do any of it anymore except for the rites, because they're such a power tool.
Captures it all.
It takes 10 minutes. Boom, it pumps all the chakras, gets the chi going. You feel it immediately. It's so empowering. And if you squeeze the chin to the chest, you're activating your thyroid. And when you're squeezing your chin to the chest, again, it's the action of the intention. You're thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it and how good it is for you. And that gives you an edge, because you feel psychologically like, yes, I'm doing something to take control, put the power in my own hands, how to maximize my health and my thyroid. Because so many people believe out there, thyroid stuff, oh, I've been on medication my whole life. Yeah, I have to take it. There's no way around it. I'll have to be on it forever. That's not necessarily true. You got to get excited about the possibilities.
I'm excited about all the possibilities we've talked about, and I want to thank you, Truth, for laying out an incredible protocol for folks to give them hope and inspiration to move ahead in their health program and their thyroid repair program, thyroid rejuvenation program, and overall longevity program. Thank you so much. I want to thank you, too, as a viewer out there at home. I'm here with Truth Calkins, Los Angeles' leading herbalist, superfoodist, alchemist, and I have to say health educator. He's doing an incredible job of educating everyone in Los Angeles, including Hollywood. So this is the man behind the Hollywood health craze. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm David Wolfe. Have the best day ever.